I am Brian.
I am Julius.
This is the Ascendant Project. The mission of the Ascendant Project is to explore the political positions in individuals. A contributor writes a 750-word article and then gets interviewed.
The purpose of the interview is to bring out other views and hopefully life experiences that sent the author down the path to the position expressed.
Although some debate will undoubtedly occur, this is not intended to be a forum for debate, but rather a project to better explore the individual and the American experience as a whole.
All opinions and views expressed, written or verbal, are solely the ownership of the one who expressed them. The Ascendant Project does not hold or endorse any views or opinions.
Ambushed. How to Survive a Surprise Political Conversation by Brian Smyers. You're hanging out at a friend's house watching your favorite team compete in your favorite sport and something happens. A few years ago, it might have been somebody kneeling during the National Anthem, but usually a political ad comes up, or one of your friends brings up a current event. You are on the opposite side of the political aisle than your friend. What do? Usually, the hair on your back of your neck stands straight up, and the spine straightens, and your heart rate increases. You're already feeling defensive. Before you speak a single word, you're already losing control of the situation as your biochemistry is being affected by your fight or flight response. This person who said this is someone you respect, and you do not want a fight. However, you feel compelled to defend your point of view. Measured words become more defensive. Tones become more aggressive. Before you know it, the full-blown fight has occurred, and once it hits its inevitable crescendo, apologies are made, but the hurt carries on, sometimes for days or weeks. The worst part is, deep down, you know the cycle of abuse will continue. You will become a monster to defend yourself from a monster. We've all been there. We all have had relationships harmed, damaged, and sometimes severed because of our passions and the passions of others. We feel right in our cause, and so do your friends with different political points of view. We all have asked ourselves, can this relationship endure? Is it worth it to remain friends? Or is this just a toxic relationship? It has been said that all politics is personal. At the Ascendant Project, we try to turn that on its head by exploring the personal to understand the politics. It is why we have an hour interview after a 750-word essay. However, when you are put on the spot, it is hard to take that exact approach. I would argue, though, you have a decision to make. Are you going to be the listener? Or are you going to be the person expressing opinions? It is important to choose your role. More often than not, you will need to be the listener, because the person spouting off their mouth has already claimed the role of expressing opinions. So you need to set your feelings aside and ask questions. A simple, why do you feel that way? Or could you expand on that? Can go a long way in letting steam out of a conversation. Try not to debate, as their mind is already made up. You can also ask, what is their intent in starting a conversation over such a sensitive topic as politics? The answer to that can help you exercise the biggest benefit of the role of the listener, setting the ground rules of the conversation. You can say when things are getting too personal, you can remind them that the game is back on, and you can also just end the conversation. My favorite, taught to me by my friend Nick Fisher, the contributor here, is I was not prepared to have this conversation today. Always remember that nobody wins most political debates. No facts, logical arguments, or statistics will defeat feelings. The only thing that really defeats feelings and expectations is life experience. But your life experience does not beat theirs. The best you can do is remind your friend that you are an example of an average person from across the political aisle. So obviously we aren't as bad as we are portrayed, because we are friends. You can use their friendship with you to bathe their arguments in respect. Remind them that when they make it personal, it means they are having trouble respecting you, and that affects the relationship. Nobody wins a political fight between friends or family. It always hurts. Usually it is best practice to choose the role of the listener. So what happens when you visit your racist grandfather who won't shut up? Sooner or later, these tactics will fail. Sooner or later, you'll stand up 100% for yourself and what you believe. Just always remember, you need to express to them that it is affecting your relationship, and if they want to maintain relations, either views need to change or things must not be brought up. Now let us consider that you are the one bringing up politics. Ask yourself some questions as soon as possible. You most likely have already blurted something out, but you need to ask yourself these questions anyway. What is the intent in bringing this up? Am I trying to learn something, or am I just reacting? Am I picking a fight? Whatever your intent, it is important to express it. That way your defensive and potentially offended friend knows a little more about how to react accordingly. At worst, this means a fair fight instead of a surprise attack. At best, it means a productive discussion full of listening and respect. If possible, preface the political discussion with, "I want your opinion on this. I feel this way. Would you mind telling me how you feel?" Never underestimate the power of asking permission. Finally, no matter the case, always try to limit the discussion to a single topic. Don't let it widen. Keep it focused. In summary, always remember why the relationship is important to you. Make any arguments with that in mind. Relationships are fragile, and you must care for them. All parties involved must remember what made the friendships and family relationships great and focus on those things. Sometimes it is just better to deny the battle and move forward with love. All right, so before we begin, there's something I do want to talk to you about, Julius. Last time we talked,
Indeed.
I berated you for not wearing your Capitals
Yes, and
jersey.
here we are.
And because we had lost to one game to Montreal, and that was the last game we were together.
Yep.
And now they lost to Carolina 4-1.
Yeah.
And our hopes are dashed.
Yes.
So
Very
I want to
sad.
tell you a story about
Okay.
the dangers of not following hockey rituals.
Okay.
Not that you haven't learned your lesson from this already.
Right. Well, I seem to learn it every year.
So 2018, the Capitals win the Stanley Cup, right?
Yeah.
But what you might not realize is that the first round, Pittsburgh had to face Philadelphia.
Oh, I do remember that.
Yeah.
I do remember that. Yeah.
Yeah. So there are a group of 5 friends in Philadelphia that year who went out to a bar to watch, one of the playoff games. In fact, it was game 6. And they were doing all their hockey rituals. But 2 of them did not wear their jerseys, did not wear their sweaters.
Okay.
They did the whole power play thing. They did the whole PK. They had their PK rituals. At one point, they all placed their hands on the table,
Okay.
and the table started shaking. Some smoke started rising from the center of the table in the third period.
Like some cursed Ouija board.
And
Yeah.
a light kind of came up through the smoke with a shadow. And at first they thought they saw a silhouette of the Stanley Cup. So they thought they were going to win this game and advance. And then it kind of, they thought they maybe saw the President's Trophy, so they thought maybe they would win the President's Trophy the following year.
Mm-hmm.
But it continued to change. And eventually they saw hair. And it was something furry.
Okay. And it was Gritty?
And Gritty appeared on the table and debuted as their mascot the following year. So the moral of the story is, if we hockey fans do not do our hockey rituals to the hockey gods, we may have a demon mascot the following year.
Well, we don't want that. Although, to be honest, of all the demon mascots you could have, Gritty is certainly something special.
Yes.
100%. I mean, you just never know what you're going to get from Gritty.
Yeah. 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's how Gritty was born.
Yeah. Is this true? Is that a true story? Okay, all right.
What do you think? Table raising and smoke rising from the table and Gritty appearing is true?
I don't know what's going on.
I mean, come on, man. The last one I recorded is What is Truth, dude?
Well.
So, yes. But yeah, that's all I had. You consider yourself slapped on the wrist.
Yes.
And understand the dangers to the franchise.
Yeah.
Of not doing things correctly.
I'm sure you've gotten this so far. We've been friends for a long time.
Yes.
And I'm sure you've recognized how very unsuperstitious I am.
Of course.
Like, to the point of being like,
you wrote an essay on cynicism and skepticism.
Yes, exactly. But it is what it is. Here we are now. Yes. Was it 4 days from that last game, and whatever.
So sad.
Felt like we had a chance. Oh well.
Yeah, and we've been running on such a delay. This won't probably air till mid-June for the case I'm working at lately.
Right.
But yeah.
Yep.
Nonetheless.
Indeed. So, Ambushed. How to survive a surprise political conversation.
Yeah. So you're watching hockey and somebody brings up something that you vehemently disagree with.
Right.
And you're just trying to have a good time.
Right.
And
threatening me with Gritty.
Yeah.
Of all things,
yes.
I cannot remember what the name of the Capitals mascot is right now. It's
Slapshot.
Slapshot, yes.
But I cannot remember his sidekick, the little junior one.
Yeah. But I mean, threatening me with some kind of like grit shot, slap Gritty. I don't know.
I'll probably get the San Diego chicken if we cross them, but yeah.
Yeah. All right. So now that we've wasted sufficient amount of time.
Wasted.
So
this is important stuff, man.
It is. I agree. But so how to survive a surprise political conversation. So, like, give me like the thrust. What's the main point of your essay here?
We've all been there.
Yep.
Yeah. And a lot of the times we are reacting because the other person is reacting and you aren't expecting it. And so you're kind of, it's all politics is personal. So a fight or flight response comes in because, they're saying something that goes against your core values and you're like, holy crap,
Yeah.
And if there's such a values clash between your friends, you're like, how am I friends with this person potentially?
Right.
And like I said, in What is Truth, diversity in friendships is important.
Absolutely. But it's hard. And I think you mentioned in the essay that, you have to maintain those. You have to tend the garden, so to speak.
100%.
And keep to keep it well maintained. So I think one of the hardest parts about having a surprise political conversation is that it's usually someone who has a perspective, but they're asking anyway. So it's like they're clearly starting at least from the perspective that they want your opinion, or they're
If you're lucky.
If you're lucky, yeah. But then it quickly devolves.
Usually, for me,
yeah,
somebody's reacting, they're spouting off an opinion straight up. They aren't even asking for yours. So you're kind of stuck, do I just stay quiet or do I answer back?
Right.
And what tone do I answer back? Because usually if you're just reacting, you're going to react just as aggressively as you felt they were.
Yeah.
And so you're going to match fire with fire. And yeah.
Yeah.
I'll just try to watch a football game, man.
Right. Yeah. Let me kind of give the benefit of the doubt. Like you give that example of, I'm just trying to watch football and somebody's kneeling and then somebody inevitably, brings up the fact that they're kneeling or, they're disgust or whatever.
Yeah.
But there's a kind of intrusion on both sides. It's like, obviously your friend feels somewhat imposed by the kneeling, right? Like they're just trying to watch a football game.
And I feel like there's something deeper going on, like they're threatened by it. But I don't know. I'm not them,
right?
But I'm going to be reacting like they are.
Right.
And
so how do you tease that out? Like, I think you gave some like great suggestions for people.
Yeah.
Like, so go over those with me. Like you gave some like great suggestions. I want you to kind of like expand on that more. You said a simple, why do you feel that way? Or could you expand on that? Like, Now I'll be honest. Like, if I had said something and somebody said to me, could you expand on that? I'd feel, it'd feel a little bit maybe too formal for like a close friend. Right. But
yeah,
like, so like walk me through that. Like, what is your,
well, do you want to role play?
Sure. Always love role playing with you.
Yeah, baby.
This is an explicit. This is marked explicit, right? So
yeah. This is adult audience, you know. I mean, it's as they will see on the radio.
Yeah.
We are like porn stars here.
Yeah. Right. Two porn
big
stars,
and muscular, and
with
completely fit. Spend 20 hours at the gym so we can film for 4. Never get any sleep. Yeah.
Right. All right. Okay. I'll take the role of your friend.
Okay.
I have some experience in that regard. So we're watching a hockey game. Can you believe the NHL doesn't allow players to kneel? Like, that seems like an imposition on their free speech.
Yeah, but you see, I disagree with your role play here because you're asking a question. It's usually a statement that's like really derisive.
Sure.
So you have a very polite friend. And so this is starting a conversation because it started off with a question. Okay. Unless the question is like, can you freaking believe that they don't allow the NHL players to kneel?
Right.
And actually, come to think of it, I think there was a coach. Not Laviolette. The Don't Push Me guy.
I don't know.
Oh, hang on.
I don't know this reference at all.
Hang on. Yeah, it was Tortorella. John Tortorella.
Okay.
So the reference is that he was coaching the Canucks at the time, and they were playing, I think it was the Calgary Flames. And for consecutive previous games, the Flames' fourth line have had phenomenal games. So their coach wanted to reward them by starting the fourth line when they played the Canucks.
Okay.
Tortorella viewed that as a threat because, your fourth line's usually enforcers and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. So, and this was back when they had the twins. Yeah, the Sedin twins, I believe. So Tortorella put out the fourth line to start the game as well. Because I think the home team, the away team, I think, has to put out the lines first, and then the other coach can respond to them with their lineup.
I see.
I think that's what the protocol is. I might have that reversed, but so both fourth lines get out there, and on a freaking whim, everybody realizes both fourth lines are out there. One of the players is like, just kind of looking at you, hey, do you want to go? Just for the heck of it? And a full-on line brawl, 5-on-5. 5 fights break out.
Amazing.
Tortorella's defending his decision and all that in the press conference. And he says, "Don't push me. I have to defend my team." And somebody remixed it into a song. And it's freaking awesome. I'd love to play it on here, but I don't think we legally can without permission. But yeah.
I'm sure it probably, like, some part of it probably falls under fair use. But regardless,
yes.
That'll have to be left as an exercise for the listener.
That's definitely something fun to look up if you're the listener. But that's a complete aside from where we're completely at.
Right.
Oh my gosh. But no, it's I think the person would most likely be like, I can't believe Tortorella does not allow his players to kneel.
Mm-hmm.
Because Tortorella actually had said, I think in a press conference, that any player that kneels would be benched.
Yes.
So, but I mean, hockey is also a different sport. It's
pretty difficult to kneel in skates.
Well, it is hard to kneel in skates, but if you look at other sports, there's something that has always bothered me about sports in general. I mean, it's just a social observation. White people can't afford the tickets, but it's black players and minorities who are playing, like on the basketball courts and on the baseball fields and almost every sport except hockey, where it's mostly 90% white in hockey and 90% white in the stands. So hockey's kind of an anomaly like that racially. But nonetheless, I mean, I've always had a weird problem with that. So, I mean, I guess I should probably, in that environment, I should probably expect a coach like Tortorella to say stuff like that. So let me come at you saying, do you believe freaking Tortorella won't let people kneel on the ice during the national anthem? I mean, what the hell's up with that? So something a little bit more aggressive if you're going to be asking questions.
Yeah.
But more likely the case would be, excuse everybody, I mean, but this is adult rated. Fucking Tortorella won't let people. Why is that?
Mm-hmm.
So, well, even there I ended with a question that was a little bit more rhetorical.
Right. I have actually in my questions here, how do you keep yourself from asking leading questions?
Well, that's always the tough thing.
I think that's another thing. We're all guilty of that. But
you want to be the lawyer on the stand.
Right.
On the cross-examination lawyer, I should say. Because the lawyer on your side will phrase the questions yes or no for the most part, so you're just confirming or denying the story.
Right.
But the cross-examination will ask open stuff and try to lead you more in one direction or the other.
Yeah. Do you feel like cross-examiner when you find yourself in these situations? Are leading questions permissible? Well, and how far does that go?
I mean, being completely human here, usually I'm in reaction mode and I haven't even chosen a role yet.
Yeah.
Because my hairs on the back of my neck are going up. I'm kind of probably physically,
you get
if I'm in a chair, I'm leaning away.
Yeah.
A lot of times I might respond with a question like, does freedom of speech not apply to them? Or something along those lines.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's interesting for me, like right now we have something going on with Bruce Springsteen that really reminds me of the whole Dixie Chicks thing in 2003 during the Iraq War.
Yeah.
Just shut up and sing. Well, you know what? I bet you haven't even read any of Bruce Springsteen's lyrics. I mean, Born in the USA is actually a pretty good criticism of, how they were treating Vietnam veterans, if I remember right.
Yeah, I don't know that I've ever really listened to internalized the lyrics.
Yeah, Born in Dead Man's Town, first kick I took was when I hit the ground. I end up like a dog that's beat up too much, and I spending half your life just covering up now. Born in the USA, born in the USA. It's actually come back home to the refinery. Hiring man says, "Son, if it were up to me, I went down to see my VA man. Son, you don't understand now. Born in the USA. Had a brother at the Kaesong, fighting off them Viet Cong. They're still there. He's all gone. He had a woman he loved in Saigon. Got a picture of him in her arms now." And
wow.
That's actually the lyric to "Born in the USA."
Yeah,
but people just grab onto. I mean, I think Reagan. Right. I think Reagan even used it in his campaign.
Yeah,
because he only paid attention to the chorus. The verses meant nothing.
Yeah, yeah.
I remember Edge told Bono, "Nobody pays attention to the lyric, man."
Yeah. I mean, There's a lot of truth to that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But for me, it's all about the lyric. It's one of the things I grabbed onto.
I mean, I'll be honest. I usually go for the beat first, and then I'll like dig into the lyrics. If I'm gonna save a song to my Spotify, I want to make sure it represents something good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But once again, we're 20 minutes in. I still haven't really answered the question.
Nope. Nope. You keep dodging. You're ducking. You're weaving.
My freaking ADHD brain. Yeah.
I mean, that's all right. We're hitting some good subjects. But
yeah, you asked me a question. Yeah, let me talk about some song lyrics. Let me talk about John Tortorella,
right?
and a line brawl and a song.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I'll definitely play that for you after this interview,
yes.
by the way.
Yeah. I'm curious.
I think I sent it to you years ago, but
probably. So I'm getting a sense I already know the answer to this question, but are your politics personal?
Of course my politics are personal.
Yeah.
But I'm trying my best not to be and become more conscious of why they're personal. Politics are always the sum of your life experience. Your politics are the sum of how you were raised, or if you go to church, or where you go to church, where you work, your neighborhood you live in. All of these things affect your politics.
Mm-hmm.
If you live in an all-white area and you were raised in an all-white area, you're probably more likely to say bigoted stuff because you aren't exposed to different cultures and you aren't exposed to different walks of life.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody's voting the same way and saying the same things and listening to the same channels. It's homogeny is the death of critical thought, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And that isn't saying that those people don't think critically. They do. It's just they're working with a
limited set of facts.
Yeah, a tighter set of information.
Yeah, fair enough.
So
would you say how personal is it for you? Like, if I can just kind of challenge you for a second, like how personal is it for you to hear about the experience of somebody on the other side of the country?
I try to put myself in their shoes if I can. This goes kind of back to empathy, which is a theme of earlier essays that we might have to come back to. If you have the ability to put yourself in somebody else's shoes that you hear about, and not assume that their life has the same opportunities as yours, and that they haven't had and be able to assume that they don't have the same life experience as you. At that point in time, you can open your mind and your heart a little bit to their plight. But if you don't even consider, like, for instance, if you think, all Palestinians are Hamas, you've obviously never asked yourself the question, what if I was born in Palestine? Would I still be a Christian today? Did I just win the lottery of who my parents were? It's got to think outside of yourself. And I don't know if the word cosmic, but universal. You definitely have to think of things in a little bit more universal setting and be able to understand things are not the way they are where you are everywhere.
Right. I think I tend to, for situations like that where the question is, what if I was born in Hamas? Then I think you kind of have to ask the analogous question, having been born here in America, does that mean I support the current administration, every administration?
Yeah.
And
things are weird. It's like all those protesters at Columbia University, where are they now?
Mm-hmm. Right.
Yeah. There's open talk of, and this completely, is it dove's tail or dovetails?
I think it's, I would say dovetails. Yeah.
Doves only have one tail.
But I think it splits, right? Like that's why it's kind of like bringing it together.
Okay, or separating as it goes. I don't know.
Right, depending on your perspective.
But it dove's tail, whatever. With the fact that A few months ago, you had Trump talking about the great real estate in the Gaza Strip.
Mm-hmm.
And here we are a few months later, maybe a month later or so, and there's talk of clearing out all of the northern part of Palestine and putting all 2 million people in a very, very, very cramped, probably walled in city,
right,
in South Palestine. Which, given the Holocaust, you would think that, Israelis would have something against ghettos, but maybe not.
I think this is the similar perspective that, supporting Jews means you have to support Israel, or that somehow anti-Israel means anti-Jew.
This is completely off track, but a lot of that comes from evangelical Christianity. Because, Jews are viewed as God's chosen people. And there's a good chunk of Christianity that views now as the end times, and that the end times started with the birth of the nation of Israel. And therefore, by defending Israel and everything they do, you're defending God. And as you know, I've had to hold a couple of my friends accountable recently. But accountability is part of what friends do.
Yep.
And just because the United States says that, hey, Israel, you need to do this better, or you're doing something wrong, it does not mean that we aren't their ally.
Right.
I mean, it's a very immature relationship. It's like a child thinking that they got grounded, so therefore my parents hate me.
Right.
I mean, it's a very immature way of looking at things. And we all got to grow. The branches need prunes sometimes,
So, like, kind of bringing it back to your essay then, like, would you really say your essay is more about that kind of interpersonal growth?
Yes, I would say it actually is, in this situation. For the most part, it's looking in, and in the second part, when you get the racist grandfather who just won't shut up,
right?
Then it's looking out a little bit and saying, hey, look, you got to set your boundaries. Because boundaries are important no matter what. Every good relationship, I think, has certain boundaries.
Yeah.
And a lot of them are done informally. Like you and I have never sat down and talked about our boundaries of friendship or whatnot.
Right.
But I think out of just the bounds of respect, we normally wouldn't cross them, and we would respect each other if one of us did and was called out for it.
Mm-hmm. So I really enjoyed your article perspective. I do think there may be a third option in the racist grandpa example that you gave. Let me
cup a fart and put it in their face.
Right. Yeah. Well, the nuclear option.
Well, it depends what you ate that day, but yeah.
Right. I'm trying to find it now in your essay.
What you looking for, my friend?
I think it was your racist grandfather example.
Yeah. It should be on like towards the end of the second page or the top of third or whatever.
Here we go. Okay. So what happens when you visit your racist grandfather who won't shut up? Sooner or later, these tactics will fail. Sooner or later, you will stand up 100% for yourself. Just always remember you need to express to them that it is affecting a relationship, and if they want to maintain relations, either, you give two options, either views need to change or things must not be brought up. I think there may be a third option, which is to say, I want to hear your perspective so I can learn from it, but you have to listen to mine too. Does that seem
try
fair?
To bring balance in there?
Yeah.
Well,
what is your thought on that as an alternative?
I guess it kind of depends on the quality of your racist grandfather.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're spouting crap like that, he might not necessarily be open, but if you have a good relationship with him, he might be. So a lot of political discussions and the quality of them are dependent on the quality of the relationship that is there.
Yeah.
I mean,
absolutely.
Is the relationship strong enough to where you can talk about politics and have a difference of opinion? Or is everything politics, all morality, and therefore you can't, because if they have a different opinion than you, they are amoral.
Right.
You know, I think it really depends on what type of relationship you would have with your grandfather. So that would be a great option if the relationship is strong. But if the relationship is not necessarily strong, I think it's important to always remember that when you're 5, your family is defined for you.
Yeah.
When you're 25, you get to define your family.
Mm-hmm.
If you aren't able to define your family, then, you know, things like marriages wouldn't be happening.
Right.
Because you all choose who you want to be family with, you know, who you want to have kids with. At some point, you're choosing your family.
Yeah. The family you make along the way.
And the family you make along the way. And if they're very destructive in your life, I should say, or very toxic, you might be better off without them. And you might not want them around your children. So you kind of have to make cuts into a family tree, if you will. And I think that's important to do. I know some people feel that you can't do that, you know, especially parents. A lot of times feel like I will always be your mother or whatnot. And I think I had mentioned that to Mom at one point, and my counterpoint to her was like, aren't you happy that I want you as my family? At, you know, age, I think at this point I was in my late 30s when I told her this. I was like, here I am, 39 years old, and I still want you, you know, and recognize you as my mom. I want you in my family.
Yeah.
Isn't that better than you being there because you're entitled to it?
Right. That's a good perspective.
Love is like grown. Love is nurtured. Respect is grown. Respect is nurtured.
Yeah.
You aren't entitled to it. You can't take your family members for granted.
Yeah. No. So, but in this context of personal growth or interpersonal growth, how do you reconcile that? You know, and this might sound like I'm being critical. I really am not. But but how do you reconcile this need for interpersonal growth with the idea that, you know, you can always just choose not to bring things up?
Well, in the article, I'm telling the grandfather not to bring it up because he's the one being abrupt and nasty. But
sure. I think based on our conversation and my interpretation of your essay, you know, I would say, you know, if at some point, if interpersonal growth is not happening, or there's just barriers too great to overcome to that, then maybe those conversations shouldn't be had. Would you agree with that sentiment? Or
it's always best when the desire to be a better person, the desire for personal growth is on both sides of the conversation.
Yeah. Yeah. So would you say that's kind of like a prerequisite kind of to?
Yeah, but how are you going to like weed that out? I mean, and in certain relationships, like with your grandfather or family members or even close friends, you know, they already have a past to a certain extent because of that relationship. Right. So they start bringing up politics and you're not expecting it. Number one, you respect them. Number two, you care for them, and they're attacking you. Yeah. You know, they're attacking your view.
Right.
If not you directly, they're attacking the views that you hold dear. And so it's very easy to get very defensive. So what I had proposed in the article is you make a purposeful decision to end any political conversation, to either be the talker or the listener.
Mm-hmm.
And so, in the surprise conversations, more likely than not, you're going to have to just take the role of the listener and then put some ground rules on what you can't talk about and try to be able to guide the conversation, you know, through asking questions or whatnot. But it's important. I mean, all politics is personal. So you're going to have to, at some point in life, realize that their views aren't necessarily about you.
Right.
And try not to take it quite as personal. But it's sometimes it makes it's hard to do. It's something you got to practice. It's something that you got to do. Just like your opportunities for courage only really happen when you're scared. Mm-hmm. In this situation, your opportunities to be a better person is only there when the default position is for you not to be a better person. So conscious decisions and practices, and you're going to freaking mess up all the time. That's okay, because the other person's messing up too.
Right.
Hopefully you have a strong enough relationship to where you can forgive each other.
Well, and also
But-
kind of forgive yourself too.
Forgive yourself, yeah.
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 Yeah, and I think that kind of like dovetails nicely with
Dovetail?
my next question.
Dovetail?
How well do you take your own advice?
In certain environments, I'm pretty good.
Yeah.
In other environments, I'm not necessarily good.
Yeah.
When I bring up politics, I really try to pay attention to people's expressions.
Mm-hmm.
It's, I remember one time I was watching hockey and I was the guy bringing up politics, but I knew where he was at, and I knew he doesn't necessarily like talking politics. But I had brought up, how a coworker of mine was a libertarian, doesn't trust the government at all, but the only phone line he had was his company cell phone that they gave him.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, so you call yourself libertarian? And at that point, my friend, his eyes raised up and he kind of sort of backed away like, oh crap, here we go. And so I quickly defined my statement and then moved on to another subject because I was watching his body language.
Uh-huh.
And I said, yeah, he only has the company phone line. So obviously he has no problems trusting the company.
Right.
With his private data and who he's calling and all that, but he doesn't trust the government.
Right.
How libertarian really is that? You're giving up your control to a corporation.
Right.
Yeah, I think I trust the government more than a corporation myself, simply because corporations are buying the government. But nonetheless,
right.
Yeah, I mean, so at that point, then we were able to move on.
We've touched on this in like previous interviews about the role of humor and comedic interjection, if you will, I guess.
Yeah.
How does that play into this?
Of comedy?
Yeah.
Humor definitely
Comedy,
helps with
gentle ribbing.
helps with approach, but
yeah.
I mean, at the same point in time, I'd hate to be a MAGA person watching late night.
Mm.
I imagine there's not too many MAGA people who watch Colbert.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
Jon Stewart does a good mix. And if I remember right, he was so effective with The Daily Show during his first go around that when they tested people who watch Fox News and NPR and NBC, and then the people who watch The Daily Show, people who watch Daily Show were actually consistently more informed than everybody else of the actual news events, which is nuts because I think his lead-in was Crank Yankers at the time. I mean, that's pretty sad about the state of our media.
Well, right. The younger crowd is not going to know what Crank Yankers was.
Yeah, there were
that
puppets.
Sounds like a porn, like something on.
They were puppets prank calling people.
Yeah.
That was the lead into The Daily Show. And it was just really sad that was the crowd that was the most informed.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think being able to interject humor can always lighten the mood a little bit. As I've said before, I think comedians have a way of kind of distilling a subject down to the point of being ridiculous and can kind of help you see how ridiculous some of your own views might be.
Yeah.
So you gave a great example of a good conversation. Like, can you give me an example of like a really terrible political conversation? One where you were just like, man, this was just not productive at all.
Oh, geez. Those conversations are harder for me to remember because I try to put them out of my mind as much as I can.
Fair enough.
A lot of times I'm also doing the role of the listener. But sometimes if you're looking for a third option, I take on the role of the mute.
Of the mute?
Don't say squat whatsoever.
Okay.
Just nod and smile and move on.
Yeah.
It's
the don't poke the bear
what are you really
approach.
Trying to accomplish, and a lot of times, that question right there, they kind of take a step back when you ask them that. It's a question that I don't think most people ask themselves when they bring up politics. What am I trying to accomplish with this? Am I just spewing information?
Mm-hmm.
Am I just spewing my opinion, expecting people to believe it? Or am I actually trying to learn something?
The experience of every husband with their wife, or is Does she just want a bitch, or is she looking for me to provide a solution?
Well, actually, I have a better example of that with when and I were, we might have been engaged at this point.
Uh-huh.
But we were trying to put something together, and inevitably something happens and you're trying to get something together and you're struggling with, either getting a screw in its slot or whatever, and you're getting frustrated. And I asked her a simple question. Can I help, or is it personal?
Right.
And I mentioned in this article, never underestimate the power of asking for permission.
Mm-hmm.
That's important in all areas of life, because when you ask for permission, you aren't crossing a boundary.
Right.
You're asking for permission. So if they want to struggle with it because they want to do it themselves for whatever reason, so they can get that feeling of accomplishment as opposed to the feeling of failure, they can struggle with it as much as they want. And then you take the discipline to not to do it.
Right. Yeah.
Because I think I brought that up like right at the end. Let me bring that up. Do you want your opinion on this? I feel this way. Would you mind telling me how you feel? Never underestimate the power of asking for permission. Because when you ask for permission on somebody's political point of view, then that makes them open to actually listening. And that would, if they're saying something really outrageous and really aggressive and really controversial or whatnot,
right?
If you're the listener and you're asking for permission, it's like, well, I mean, do you want to discuss it, or what do you want out of this?
Yeah. At
that point, if they say yes, they're going to listen to you. Whereas if you just respond, in the same tone that they give you, it's probably going to wind up in a fight.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's, if you want the discussion, ask for permission for the discussion, no matter what role you're in, whether or not one's spewing or the person or the listener. So,
I like that. So kind of like switching gears a little bit, like what ultimately inspired you to write this essay? Like what was going on for you at the time? Had you just been in an argument and you were just I want to talk about this? Or
I wrote this one back to back with What is Truth.
Yeah.
I mean, they were probably all done within an hour and a half. I wrote both articles in an hour and a half. And, I mean, it just felt like both of these articles, I kind of got back to where, what the Ascendant Project is, trying to really start over again politically. I mean, it's, learn how to think critically, learn how to care for people across the aisle, learn how to talk to people across the aisle. A lot of this comes from Braver Angels, which is a great organization if you really want to practice and learn how to talk about politics. Just look them up online and see if there's an event near you. They do workshops. I remember one of their workshops, they, instead of saying liberals and conservatives, they say reds and blues.
Right.
And so they would have a blue argue the red point of view. I have the red person argue the blue point of view. So the shoe's completely on the other foot. And it does a great job of helping you realize what stereotypes you have.
Right.
And kind of addressing them, and kind of humanizes the other side a lot better, because you start hearing the prejudices and hate on your side that you hadn't really thought of before coming out of your mouth.
Yeah.
Because you're doing it because you're remembering all the insults that were told to you, and you're arguing that side. You're like, do you really want to argue those insults?
Yeah. I never really thought about it very much, but I have a very similar set of standards, if you will, or expressions that I'll use. I'll say, kind of going back 5 minutes, I'll say do you want my opinion, as a way for me to get permission, get consent. Do you want me to tell you my thoughts?
Yeah.
Kind of bringing it back to our current conversation. I'll say, this is what I've heard you say. And then I'll just kind of parrot back, perhaps paraphrase so that they can hear what I heard.
A paraphrase?
Paraphrase. Yeah, I'll paraphrase it.
Like 3 fries short of a Happy Meal wacko?
Right.
Stargate reference, in case you don't know.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, I feel like I've learned some phrases to help progress the conversation and make people more open to listening or engaging in honest, productive discourse. But yeah, it's a skill. It's hard to master. I mean, and I'll say I don't get it right 100% of the time either.
Yeah.
I think as a kind of like addendum to your essay, when we put this online, I would say might be worth like adding some additional phrases, or if people out there have their own phrases, feel free to drop it in a comment or send it to us at the Ascendant Project.
Oh, totally.
Yeah. I'd love to hear other people's opinions. How much time do we have?
We are at the 54-minute mark of the interview.
Oh, holy crap.
Unedited.
All right. Well, so what's one thing you want people to remember from this essay?
Oh, geez. Probably like 2 or 3 things, actually.
Yeah, okay.
It's not about you.
Hmm.
If somebody's upset about politics, they're not upset at you.
Yeah.
You got to take yourself out of the equation sometimes.
Yeah. I think
I think empathy matters.
Uh-huh.
I think boundaries matter, and ask for permission. So yeah, there's 4 things.
I kind of came to a realization. It's kind of like, goes along with what you just said, is like, you don't always have to have the last word.
No.
I've been trying to teach myself that.
People think that who has the last word wins an argument.
Mm-hmm.
If there's a change in behavior, the argument's won.
Right.
If there's no change in behavior, the argument's accomplished nothing.
Right.
So if there's no change in perspective, no change in behavior. So you can let people have the last word.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's kind of like the high school bullies.
Mm.
Even if they push you around, even if they punch you in the face or in the gut or push you into a locker or whatever, are you really going to change who you are?
Right.
No, you aren't.
Yeah.
It's they're just doing it out of their own insecurity and because they can.
Yeah. I think you've really put together a solid piece here. Is there going to be any like follow-up? What do you think
I don't know.
A future essay article on this subject?
I mean, I probably wrote this 3 weeks ago at this point.
Probably more than that. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, here it is, May 18th. Which May 18th, 1980, by the way, was when Mount St. Helens exploded.
Oh.
So, yeah, that's 45 years ago now today.
Wow.
Yeah.
God.
But that was like the last major eruption inside CONUS.
Yeah.
That I know of.
Right.
Which is kind of surprising because I would have figured they would have been more active than that. But
they
really wasn't even that major compared to other eruptions since around the world.
Well, no, not by comparison to that island that basically ceased to exist
or whatever.
Yeah.
Or Java or whatever it was.
Yeah. It sent shockwaves literally around the world.
Yeah, altered the axis.
Yep.
Or Mount Pinatubo. I think it was like Mount St. Helens was like 1% of what Mount Pinatubo was.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Still pretty
still 60
incredible.
people lost their lives.
Right. They only just I know we're getting like far afield now, but they only just like earlier, I think it was earlier this week, they only just caught the Earth moving as the result of tectonic activity. Yeah.
Yeah, they caught that on camera.
Crazy.
Somebody had the webcam right at the fault line.
Yep.
And I'm like wondering if the homeowners knew there was a fault line in their backyard.
Right.
But they got it on cam, like on their ring camera or whatever it was. And it was like 6 feet.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it was pretty incredible to see. All right. Last question.
All right.
Title of your article: Ambushed. Did you see that coming? Damn, I hit you right in the center of
You got my nose, dude. He threw a piece of paper and got me in the nose. I was not really seeing that. I mean, Jesus, dude.
Well, I'll be hitting balls in your face next weekend. So I'm gonna be back out on the court. So
yeah,
if anybody's near Frederick, that area, or Westminster, they may catch us playing tennis some morning.
Yeah, hopefully the local bar will start doing breakfast soon.
Yeah,
but we'll find out.
Absolutely. Well, that was all the questions I had. You want to take us out?
Everybody, of course, please like, comment, subscribe, come to our website,
Yeah.
theascendantproject.com. And of course, this is available on Spotify and on Apple Podcasts. Please like and comment there too. I've recently been putting out the essays with a link to the main website on Tumblr. So yeah, please comment and like and join the discussion there if you wish. So, but feedback is important to us.
Absolutely.
And we are always looking for contributors. So if you're in the Mid-Maryland area or willing to travel to the Mid-Maryland area with your 750-word essay,
yep,
let us know. Let us know. We need more perspectives because right now it's just two white boys bitching. We need, there's more to this country than that.
Absolutely. Yeah.
We need to broaden our perspectives. We need to learn new things. And so, yeah, we definitely want more participation.
Yeah.
So you can email me at editor@theascendantproject.com if you're interested. And yeah, that's about it.
Cool.
You all have a great day.
Indeed.
And we'll see you. Actually, that's the one other thing. If you've noticed, the last few releases have been every other week. I do not know if that's going to be keeping up or if we'll go back to a once a week rhythm. The reason for that is as I learn more and more about sound editing, I wind up playing with more and more tools. And my first episodes only took about 4 hours of sound editing for the episode. And right now they're running around 20. And I do have a full-time job. So, and I do want to relax and not look at a computer screen sometime during the day.
Right.
So that's the reason why for the schedule. But as I learn my craft and we get more contributors, I do expect us to start coming back more on a more good rhythm, but you'll definitely get us at least twice a month.
Yeah. And if people have any nice tips or tricks for using Audacity or Reaper, yeah, definitely hit us up.
Yep. All right. Very good. Have a good week, guys.